Welcome back to 1813 Fair Warning. I'm Kevin Steele, and I've been looking into an issue that you may find slightly esoteric, and I am going to tell you why it matters to you if you are someone who has ever used a drug, if you're a diabetic, if you're somebody who has in any way ever had a medical issue, if you're somebody that will ever have a medical issue. Listen, this affects all of us. Three dirty little letters, way worse than CIA or DIR. And I'll tell you why you need to care about this. Just follow me on this for just a little bit. Now, I've been worried about this concept and this issue for some time, and I've asked someone to anonymously tell us about what this issue really means. And it's big for your pricing on drugs, and it's very important to your health care if you have ever needed a drug. Legislation could be on the way soon at the Texas Senate under the name of SB 2195, a bill that even this next week could get substantial play, and you would love it if it were to pass. Now, I'll tell you why in just a moment. But I have a doc who will be joining us to tell us really the intricacies of this matter. Doc, tell us about, and you can even step out of frame if you like at some point, but tell us about DIRs. These are fees that just show up for the independent pharmacies around our area, and it has substantial ramifications for anyone who goes to need drugs at any point. What is a DIR? Let's just start there.
Well, DIRs, the letters don't mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but I think the first set of letters that we should be discussing is a set of letters that are designated as PBM. Mm-hmm. PBM stands for Pharmacy Benefit Manager.
PBMs.
No one seems to know what they are, and yet they control 80% of all prescriptions processed across the United States.
Wow. That's billions.
So very much, hundreds of billions of dollars in processing. PBMs are a middleman that sits between your health insurance company and you as the consumer who is receiving those health benefits. They control all aspects of pharmacy benefit. That means they control what drugs are on your formulary, how much the drugs cost, how much your health plan pays for those. Mm-hmm. They control the other side from where they come from, what drugs are on that, as far as a drug manufacturing side. And they also control the pharmacy and the pharmacy who can fill those prescriptions for you. Mm-hmm. In the situation as it currently exists, there is a process whereby PBMs can administer a plan to an independent pharmacy and take back money after the prescription has been dispensed to the patient.
And sometimes 3 months later, and sometimes 6 months later.
Correct.
It's a disgrace.
They take money based on metrics and parameters that are invisible and very, very hard for pharmacies to figure out, and unfairly administered because PBMs own pharmacies. Mm-hmm. Those same DIR fees aren't administered to the large chain stores nor mail order pharmacies that the PBMs themselves own or are a part of. Mm-hmm.
If you're watching this and you're a smart person and you want to know what's really going on, you should realize that DIR fees are a big deal to you, even though it seems like it might not be. The ramifications for the patients. Tell us about some of the ramifications for regular folks.
The ramifications are across the board. If you pay taxes, here's how this is impacting you. Whenever a PBM sets a price for a drug, and allows a drug manufacturer to be a part of it, they also demand that whoever is participating in that plan provide rebates to that plan. Those rebates supposedly go back to PBMs and then are to be applied to the plan participants and things of that nature. However, it's unknown what percentage of the rebates come back, number one. Number two, by demanding those rebates, they cause an increase in the cost of the drug. Drug manufacturers are not simply going to make a drug and eat the cost for it.
Right.
They're going to apply it back to the cost of the drug, number one. Number two, PBMs administer plans for federal and state programs. Who supports federal and state programs? Every taxpayer that pays a state or a federal tax is contributing to the cost of those programs.
Yeah.
So the higher the PBM drives that price up, the more of the tax dollar goes into the compensation to who but the PBM.
So the pharmacy benefit manager is a little like the Bermuda Triangle, and like you go in and you never know where the rest of it goes out. It's just an unfair, un-American system in the sense that there's not a transparency involved. The American people don't have an honest, transparent view of what's happening, and it's shocking that we're at a place in America where there can be such an animal. You know, we like to look at sunlight in our systems that eventually, it's a little like this to me, Doc, and you tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm a landscaper and I work mowing and landscaping lawns all month long, and I come to the end of the month, and then the government decides, well, you know, this time we'll take out $1,000 from your fees, and the next month they take 20,000 in fees. That's really the disgrace we're looking at in America as a result.
I agree. It comes to that transparency issue and a regulatory issue. Who is in charge of regulating the practice of PBMs?
Right.
And the answer to that right now is no one.
Nobody.
They exist and are beholden to no group save politicians, if the politicians choose to address the different issues that PBMs, through their control of all aspects of pharmacy and healthcare benefits, if they choose to address that themselves. And that's the position that we're in. There is no regulatory body. There is no need for PBMs to be transparent in any of their practice.
Well put, well put. And government can make a difference in that. Upcoming this next week, the Texas Senate has the opportunity to take up and pass SB 2195. Doc, if you can't give me some, I know you're not a legislator, but give me some of your view of what 2195 would mean for the consumer.
I think it will be very beneficial in terms of addressing the effects that I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It will help us to come to some realization of what PBMs and the power that PBMs hold as far as forcing you to go to a pharmacy that is not of your choice,
Mm-hmm.
forcing you to go to mail order pharmacy. It will also address some of the DIR remuneration issue because it will mandate that that be addressed in the upfront point of sale so that there is no quote unquote clawback after a point of sale and after a sale has taken place. And there are other aspects of the bill that will also be beneficial. Unfortunately, the bill, as I read it, still does not stipulate anyone to regulate these huge multi-billion-dollar corporations. Who will be over them? Who will make them answer and hold them accountable? That, as far as I read it at this point, doesn't exist in the bill.
Which is still astonishing. We've had regulatory agencies since Teddy Roosevelt, for goodness sake, Doc. This is an very unusual place and a loophole. Thank God you're just out there doing God's work, taking care of these patients as a pharmacist. I'll leave it at that, but I appreciate your candor here with letting us know if you're human, at some point you're going to need medical care, and that means drugs. And this is a huge issue. And I know Speaker Phelan can move the needle on SB 2195 along with our other state legislators. South Dakota has already at one point passed legislation that would be helpful. That was overturned. Hopefully, this will be passed and won't be overturned, and we'll get some transparency in this extraordinary issue. Doc, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day, sir.